Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different with our source material. We don't have a stack of articles or, a new study. Instead, we are dedicating this entire deep dive to one single massive text.
And that text is the complete lyrics of Bob Dylan's 1965 masterpiece, It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, who loves to get at complex ideas about defiance, philosophy, identity, this song is, well, it's a foundational document.
It really is. It's almost 7.5 minutes of this incredibly dense, relentless poetry on the album, bringing it all back home. It's not just a song, it's this huge early statement on modern disillusionment.
And one that Dylan himself kept coming back to for decades.
Oh, constantly.
So what we're going to do is what we always do. We're going to try to find those key nuggets of wisdom hidden in all that density. We want to unpack the core themes, figure out why a track from 1965 feels so painfully relevant today.
And distill the ultimate lessons it offers, about how to live in a world that is just obsessed with selling you something.
Before we jump in, though, maybe we should set the stage a little, historically.
Right. So the track was copyrighted in 1965 by Warner Bros., renewed later by Special Writer Music. And that 1965 context is, it's crucial. This is the moment Dylan is fully shifting from that folk prophet persona
to the electric poet.
Exactly. Taking on culture, institutions, everything with just this unprecedented lyrical ambition.
Okay, so if we're looking at this massive text, this poem, what's the one thing? What's the single, most defining, most memorable nugget of wisdom that has cemented the song's place in our culture?
For me, it has to be the mandate for perpetual motion.
Motion.
Yeah. I mean, the whole song is basically an instruction manual against stasis, against standing still, and it's delivered with this real sense of existential terror.
Okay, let's explore that. That's a perfect entry point. Section 1, Dylan's thesis of action versus stagnation. He really doesn't hold back, does he?
He hits you with it immediately. This sense of cosmic wrongness. Darkness at the break of noon shadows even the silver spoon.
I love that line. It's not a world that offers you, a gentle landing. Even traditional privilege, that silver spoon, it doesn't protect you.
No, it's eclipsed by shadows and gloom. The security it's supposed to offer is itself a shadow. It's a false promise.
Right, especially when, as he says, a handmade blade and a child's balloon can somehow eclipses both the sun and moon. It's like the priorities of the entire universe are inverted.
And that inverted world, it prepares you for the absolute mandate that follows, the line we were just talking about.
The one everyone quotes, that he not busy being born is busy dying.
There it is. There is no neutral state. Life is a constant process of becoming, and the second you stop that process, the alternative isn't rest.
It's decay.
It's decay.
That is such a forceful phrase. But what does being born really mean here? I mean, it sounds exhausting. Is it just about action, or is it something more, like intellectual renewal?
I think it has to be the latter. It's about engagement. Renewal of your identity. If you stop questioning, stop creating, stop moving, you stagnate. And the song immediately points out the temptation to avoid that hard work.
How so?
By just surrendering to emotion. He talks about chasing temptation and finding yourself at war, where you watch waterfalls of pity roar.
And if you fall into that trap, if you let yourself get swept up in that pity, you realize, as he puts it, you'd just be one more person crying.
Exactly. Your unique pain just becomes part of the noise. It's mass-produced. Insignificant.
Which makes the pain totally unproductive. The relief you get is so small, which is why he uses that phrase, it's all right, Ma, I'm only sighing.
Right. It's a momentary release, but it's not the defiance the song is building towards.
So to sum up this first part, we start with this internal directive. You must constantly renew yourself, or you are in fact dying, and you have to reject self-pity.
But he also links that stagnation to outside forces. He warns against those who call to make all that should be killed to crawl.
That is a dark image.
It is. It's the noise of external influences. Media, false prophets, institutions, all of them trying to lure you into being passive, convincing you to just accept the decay. It perfectly sets the stage for the rest of the song.
Which is basically a spectacular takedown of everything those voices represent. So having set up that internal mandate for movement, let's look at what he attacks externally. This is where the language gets. Well, it's almost biblical in its fury. We're moving into section 2. The scrutiny of false gods and institutions.
He starts his social critique by just tearing down the whole concept of the sacred. He says, disillusioned words like bullet spark as human gods aim for their mark.
Human gods, and what are their tools?
Cheap, Manufactured items.
The imagery here is so specific, so memorable, flesh-colored Christs that glow in the dark.
And toy guns that spark.
By linking religious icons to plastic novelties you'd get from a gumball machine, he just strips them of any real spiritual authority.
And it drives home his realization that not much is really sacred. It's not just a critique of religion. It's a critique of consumerism colonizing spirituality.
That's a great way to put it. If holiness can be manufactured and sold like a trinket, then the whole system of reverence has failed.
And he doesn't stop there. He applies that same dissection across all traditional authority figures.
He draws this really sharp line between systems meant to educate and systems meant to control. You have preachers preach of evil faiths, and then
teachers teach that knowledge waits. But there's a catch.
There always is. That knowledge is just waiting to be exchanged for money, for $100 plates.
The promise of enlightenment gets corrupted by the promise of wealth. It's all transactional. But what I find so interesting is how quickly he then deflates the power at the very, very top of the pyramid.
You're talking about that incredible line, the one about the president.
But even the president of the United States sometimes must have to stand naked.
Why do you think that line is so universally quoted? What's the power in it?
It's the ultimate equalizer. It reminds you that when you strip away the titles, the security, all the trappings of power, you're left with just a vulnerable human.
A person.
A person. He's reminding the listener that the systems you're told to fear are run by people who are just as exposed, just subject to decay as you are.
Which completely undercuts their authority, and that's necessary before he moves on to his next target.
Which is distraction. Consumerism.
Yeah.
The modern way to keep people busy dying.
Stanza 10 is such a precise critique of modern marketing, it's almost eerie. He describes how signs con you into thinking you're the one that can do what's never been done.
That is the fantasy sold by advertising today, isn't it? This myth of a unique destiny that's tied directly to what you buy.
Right. You buy this car, you wear these jeans, and suddenly you're special. You're the hero of your own little commercial.
And he immediately contrasts that fantasy with the harsh, mundane reality. Meantime, life outside goes on, all around you.
The warning is so clear. Don't get trapped in the consumer fantasy of being the chosen one, because real life, with all its mess, is passing you by.
And he ties this back to a kind of superficial morality, too, especially in stanza 18. He paints this picture of old lady judges watch people in pairs. Limited in sex, they dare to push fake morals, insult, and stare.
The moralizing class is presented as small, jealous, hypocritical.
And that small, jealous morality is powerless compared to the real driver of society. He says, money doesn't talk, it swears obscenity.
That's a fascinating connection. The judges just dare to whisper their fake morals, but money is out there actively swearing obscenities.
It's the raw, unfiltered power of wealth that's really running the show. The moral gatekeepers are just pushing petty rules on the side.
So the entire system is framed as this colossal deception run by corruptible human gods and fueled by raw financial power.
Which is the perfect setup for the listener, because if everything on the outside is a lie, where do you turn?
And that brings us to section 3. This is where Dylan shifts the focus back inside, back to internal freedom, and delivers his ultimate call for radical independence.
This is the absolute core of the song, the philosophical pillar, the rejection of the tribe. After dismantling all that external authority, you have to ask, who do I belong to?
And Dylan's answer is definitive. Stanza 13. It is not he or she or them or it that you belong to.
An absolute rejection of affiliation. No person, no gender, no group, and no system. That's the it gets your loyalty.
Non-affiliation becomes self-preservation. But wait a second, isn't standing completely alone just another form of that self-pity or isolation he seemed to condemn earlier?
That's a great question. I think the difference the song suggests is agency.
Agency.
Yeah. Self-pity is a passive surrender. Radical independence is an active choice. By refusing to belong, the narrator gains this profound active freedom. He says in the next stanza, I got nothing, Ma, to live up to.
The moment you drop that expectation of belonging, you're free to create your own meaning.
Exactly. And you contrast that freedom with the fate of those who must obey authority that they do not respect in any degree.
They're the ones who are truly trapped.
And Dylan sees them cultivating flowers that are nothing more than something they invest in. Even their passions, their hobbies, are just transactional. They're investments meant to provide security or status, not not authentic pursuits.
It's such a pointed attack on performative living, and he doesn't spare organized political and social groups either. He targets those who are, on principles, baptized to strict party platform ties.
Or those social clubs in drag disguise. They wrap themselves in rigid doctrine or this false sense of community. And what's the function of all that group identity?
They tell nothing except who to idolize.
It's just a mechanism for control, for manufactured reverence, not for genuine thought.
Which is such a vital message for anyone trying to navigate today's world, which is just drowning in these mandatory social and political groups. Dylan's philosophy says your greatest strength is found in resisting that pressure to pick a side.
And the outcome of that resistance is harsh. It's the reality that alone you stand with nobody near. He acknowledges that solitude is the price you pay for authenticity.
Okay, so after tearing down society and demanding this radical independence, where does that leave us? Let's move into section 4, the song's resilience and conclusion. The narrator is standing alone, but he's not giving up.
No, not at all. The narrator recognizes the struggle. He talks about them that defend what they cannot see. With a killer's pride, security. He knows self-reliance isn't easy. He even says life sometimes must get lonely.
That loneliness is the tax you pay for refusing to join the tribe.
Right. But the final verses are all defiance, all confrontation. He's not passively accepting the decay. He's actively fighting the toxicity. He clashes with stuffed graveyards, false gods, and declares, I scoff at pettiness which plays so rough.
And the imagery of that final fight is so visceral. He says he's walking upside down inside handcuffs, kicking my legs to crash it off.
It's the ultimate mental resilience. It's that moment where he just says, okay, I have had enough. What else can you show me? He's demanding more from a rotten world, refusing to let it define him.
That intensity must be why this track was never just an album cut. It was a career-defining statement. The stats really bear that out.
They do. He played this song 772 times between its debut in 1964 and its last performance in 2013.
That's nearly 50 years of him returning to this exact text.
And that frequency matters. It shows up on all the essential live records. Before the Flood, Budokan, the Rolling Thunder Review, and all over the Bootlegs series, he was constantly revisiting it.
It was his mission statement, an artistic anchor point he needed to reaffirm no matter how his career changed.
It was his internal manifesto, constantly redeclared. The song is this extended declaration of personal honesty against systemic deception. It tells you the primary danger is stasis, the external world is a lie, and your only defense is a radical, non-affiliated, and sometimes lonely independence.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Dylan's message, for all its complexity, it sort of boils down to a single, accepted reality, and it's delivered in the very last line.
But it's all right, Ma. It's life, and life only.
It's this calm acceptance of the chaotic, deceptive, and lonely nature of reality. It's hard, but it's real, and that's what makes it acceptable.
And that acceptance is hard-won. It only comes after confronting all those false gods and pressures.
Exactly. And on that note, let's leave you with one final thought to mull over, one that builds on this intense focus on independence. The narrator mentions that if his thought dreams could be seen, they'd probably put my head in a guillotine.
That's a powerful metaphor for the danger of true private conviction.
So, given the song's demand for radical independence from he or she or them or it, how much societal pressure do you currently face just to avoid revealing your most private convictions? How much of your energy is spent just keeping your head off that figurative chopping block?
A provocative question indeed.
That's something to contemplate until our next deep dive. We'll see you next time.